Let's be honest. Everything your grandpa might have taught you about needing massive hooks for massive pike, it could be completely wrong, especially when the water gets cold. You look in your tackle box, you see those giant trebles, and you think, that's what I need for a 40-inch pike's bony jaw. But what if I told you that very piece of hardware is the reason you're getting ignored? That the biggest, wisest pike in the lake see that hook and swim the other way? Today, we're diving into a paradox. The idea that a smaller, more delicate hook can actually be the key to landing the biggest pike of your winter season. Stay with me, because this one simple change could transform your results. And let me ask you this right now. Drop it in the comments. Do you believe a size 4 treble has any business being on a big pike bait? Let's see what you think before we start. For years, the logic has been drilled into our heads. It's a simple, powerful equation. Big fish have big mouths, so you need a big hook to catch them. It makes perfect sense on the surface. We've all seen the size of a pike's head. We've all felt the fear of a hook pulling free. So, we arm ourselves with heavy gauge wire and hooks with a massive gap, thinking we're ensuring a solid hook set. This becomes a habit, a tradition passed down from one generation of anglers to the next. But this logic completely ignores one critical factor: the mood of the fish. A pike in July, crashing a topwater lure in warm water, is a completely different animal than the one we're after in January. That winter pike is slow, calculating, and deeply suspicious, and our old habits might be our own worst enemy. First, let's get inside the mind of a winter pike. When the water temperature plummets, a pike's metabolism slows to a crawl. Think of it like a bear in partial hibernation. It's not actively hunting with explosive energy. It's an opportunist, looking for the easiest possible meal that requires the least amount of effort. It's not going to chase your bait 30 feet across the flat. Instead, it will drift up to it, hover, and inspect it with incredible scrutiny. It has all the time in the world to decide if something is off. This isn't the reckless, aggressive predator of the summer. This is a cold, calculating survivor, and if anything about your presentation screams danger or unnatural, the deal is off before it even begins. This shift in behavior is the entire foundation for why our tackle needs to adapt. Now, let's talk about what that pike sees. Imagine you're that fish, suspended in clear, cold water. A bait fish, a smelt, or a shiner, drifts down. It looks like an easy meal, but hanging from its side is a giant piece of metal, a huge treble hook that glints in the winter sun. It's not a part of the fish. It doesn't look organic. It looks like what it is: a trap. Pike, especially the big old ones that have seen countless lures and rigs, are not stupid. They associate that unnatural hardware with danger. A smaller hook, say a size 4 or even a size 6, tucks away much more neatly. It can be hidden in a fin or sit flush against the bait's body, becoming nearly invisible. You're removing the most obvious unnatural part of the equation, presenting a meal, not a lure with a fish attached to it. The visual problem is only half the story. The other, and arguably more important issue with big hooks is their weight. A heavy gauge oversized treble hook acts like an anchor. If you're using a dead bait, which is a prime technique in winter, you want that bait to look truly dead. You want it to drift and tumble naturally with the current, to settle softly on the bottom. A big heavy hook robs it of all that subtlety. It makes the bait fall nose down, or hang stiffly and artificially in the water. It kills the very action you're trying to imitate. The pike sees a bait that's moving wrong, that feels wrong. That subtle, lifelike flutter is gone, replaced by a rigid, awkward presentation that a cautious predator will reject 9 times out of 10. Think about the way a real dead bait fish moves. It's weightless in the water column. It's supple. It bends and flexes with the slightest touch of current. This is the image we need to replicate. When you switch to a smaller, lighter wire hook, you give that life back to your bait. Suddenly, your dead bait can pivot and sway naturally. If you're using a soft plastic swim bait, a lighter hook allows the tail to have its full range of motion, even at incredibly slow retrieve speeds. The lure is no longer fighting against the weight of the hook. It's free to perform as it was designed. You are fundamentally changing the presentation from a chunk of plastic with an anchor to a subtle, enticing, and, most importantly, believable meal. So let's consider the scene. You're out on the ice, or maybe casting from a boat on a cold grey day. You've got two rods set up. One has the classic rig, a big smelt on a massive quick strike rig with two huge treble hooks. The other has the same size smelt, but it's rigged on a single, much smaller, high-quality treble hook, maybe a size 4. You watch your fish finder. A huge mark drifts in and approaches the big classic rig. It hangs there, suspended, looking. Then it slowly turns and fades away. A few minutes later, that same mark appears under your other hole. It approaches the bait on the small hook. It pauses, but this time something is different. The presentation is more subtle, more natural. The bait sways gently. That's the moment of truth. That's where a rejection turns into a commitment. This brings us to the concept of finesse fishing for a giant predator. We usually associate finesse with small baits for bass or panfish, but the principle is universal. It means paying attention to the small details to create the most natural presentation possible. In the winter, pike fishing becomes a finesse game. Your line diameter matters, your leader material matters, and your hook size and weight matter more than almost anything else. By downsizing your hook, you are adopting a finesse mindset. You are saying, I'm not going to rely on brute force and giant hardware. I am going to trick this smart old fish by showing it something so perfectly natural that its instinct to feed overrides its instinct to be cautious. It's a completely different approach to the problem. Let's break down the mechanics of the take. A winter pike often doesn't slam the bait like it does in summer. The bite can be incredibly light. Sometimes the fish just swims up and gently inhales the bait. With a big, heavy hook, the fish immediately feels that unnatural weight and resistance. What does it do? It spits the bait out in a fraction of a second, often before you even realize you had a bite. You might see your float twitch and then go still, and you write it off as the wind. But with a smaller, lighter hook, the bait feels natural in its mouth. The fish doesn't immediately detect the trap. It's more likely to turn and swim away with the bait, giving you time to see the bite and set the hook properly. Now we have to address the big fear, the number one objection to this entire idea. People will say, a small hook won't hold a giant pike. It will bend, or it won't get a good purchase in that hard, bony mouth. This is a legitimate concern, but it's based on a misunderstanding of hook dynamics. The key is not the size of the hook, but its quality and sharpness. A premium, chemically sharpened size 4 hook made from high-quality steel is incredibly strong. More importantly, its smaller wire diameter allows it to penetrate with far less force. Think of it like a needle versus a nail. The needle slides in easily. The nail requires a hammer. That small, sharp hook point can find a home in the softer tissue of the jaw hinge or the roof of the mouth, places a big, thick hook might just skid off of. Let's visualize the hook set. With a big, wide gap hook, you need a tremendous amount of force to drive that thick wire past the barb and into bone. This often requires a massive, sweeping hook set that can be hard to achieve with a tight line. With a smaller hook, the physics are on your side. Because it requires less force to penetrate, a firm, steady pull is often all you need. The hook point bites, and as the pressure comes tight, it buries itself. You're not trying to punch through the thickest part of the jawbone. You're looking for a solid connection, and a smaller, sharper hook is often more efficient at finding one. It's about being surgical rather than using brute force, and in the cold, surgery is more effective. Another myth is that you need 2 giant treble hooks on a quick strike rig to guarantee a hookup. While these rigs have their place, in winter they can be overkill. That's double the hardware, double the weight, and double the unnatural appearance. A single, well-placed small treble can be far more effective. By placing it near the bait's dorsal fin or the back, you're targeting the area where a pike often grabs its prey to disable it before swallowing. When the fish takes the bait, that single, small hook is in a prime position to connect. You reduce the amount of metal in the water by 50%, which is a massive improvement in stealth, and you often get a better, more solid hookup in the corner of the jaw. Let's talk about the fight itself. So you've hooked a monster on a size 4 treble. Is it going to bend out? Not if you play the fish correctly. The key is a properly set drag and steady pressure. Don't try to horse the fish in. Let your rod and your drag do the work. A big pike will make powerful runs, but they are often shorter in the cold water. Keep the line tight, let the fish run when it needs to, and gain line when you can. The small hook, pinned securely in the corner of the mouth, will hold just fine. In fact, because it created a smaller hole, it can sometimes be less likely to wear a larger hole and pull free during a long fight, especially if the fish starts to thrash and roll near the boat or the ice hole. Here's a real-world scenario to put it all together. A friend of mine was an old-school guy, always used the biggest hooks he could find. We were fishing together on a tough winter day, not a single bite for hours. I was using a large sucker minnow on a single size 4 Gamakatsu treble. He was using his standard double treble monster rig. We watched a giant fish on the sonar move between our baits 3 times. It would approach his rig, pause for a minute, and leave. Finally, it came over to mine. It sat there for what felt like an eternity. Then, my float slowly, almost imperceptibly, started to slide under the ice. I reeled down, set the hook, and after a 10-minute battle, a 38-inch pike was on the ice. The only difference was the hook. This isn't just about dead baiting either. The same principle applies to artificial lures in the winter. Think about a suspending jerkbait or a soft plastic swim bait. Anglers often upgrade the stock hooks to bigger, stronger ones. In the winter, this can be a fatal flaw. That extra weight can ruin the lure's delicate balance, causing a suspending jerkbait to sink instead of hanging perfectly neutral. It can make a swimbait's tail action stiff and unnatural on a slow retrieve. By sticking with, or even downsizing to, a lighter wire hook, you preserve the intended action of the lure, which is absolutely critical when trying to trigger a reaction from a lethargic, non-committal fish. Think about the confidence factor. When you're using a rig that you know is as stealthy and natural as possible, you fish differently. You have more patience. You're more willing to let a bait soak, knowing that it looks perfect down there. You're not second-guessing your presentation. This mental edge is huge in fishing, especially during a long, cold day when bites are few and far between. Believing in your system keeps you focused, and that focus is what allows you to detect those subtle bites and capitalize on the 1 or 2 opportunities you might get all day. Moving to a smaller hook isn't just a technical change, it's a philosophical one that can boost your entire approach. Let's also discuss the benefit to the fish. A smaller hook generally causes less damage. It creates a smaller puncture and is often easier to remove. As responsible anglers who want to preserve these big old fish for the future, practicing catch and release is vital. Using a single small hook can make that process quicker and less stressful for the pike. You can get the fish back into the water faster, with less damage to its mouth, increasing its chances of survival. So, not only can this technique help you catch more big fish, but it also helps you be a better steward of the fishery, ensuring those trophy pike are still swimming for years to come. The transition can be intimidating. I get it. Holding a tiny size 6 treble in your hand and preparing to put it on a 10-inch bait feels wrong at first. It goes against everything we've been conditioned to believe. The key is to start with high-quality hooks. Don't use cheap, flimsy hooks and expect them to hold. Invest in premium brands known for their strength and sharpness. Brands like Owner, Gamakatsu, or VMC make small hooks that are engineered to handle surprisingly large fish. The quality of the steel and the precision of the sharpening process make all the difference. It's about having the right tool for the job, not just a smaller version of the wrong tool. So, how small is too small? This is where experimentation comes in. A good starting point is to go down 2 sizes from what you would normally use. If you typically use a size 1/0 treble, try a size 2 or a size 4. The goal is to find the sweet spot where the hook is small enough to be stealthy and not impede the bait's action, but still large enough to give you confidence in its hooking power. For most large dead baits, like smelt, herring, or suckers, a single treble in the size 4 to size 2 range is a fantastic and highly effective choice for even the largest pike that swim. Don't just take my word for it. The next time you're out and the bite is tough, I challenge you to run an experiment. Set up 2 rods side by side. Rig one exactly how you always do, with your traditional oversized hooks. Rig the second one with the same bait, but on a single, much smaller, premium hook. Place them an equal distance apart and see which one gets the attention. See which one gets that subtle, confident bite from a big, cautious fish. I suspect that after you try it, you'll start looking at those giant treble hooks in your tackle box in a completely new light. The proof is right there, waiting for you under the ice or in that cold open water. This shift in thinking is about evolving as an angler. The best fishermen are the ones who are constantly questioning the rules and adapting their techniques to the specific conditions and the mood of the fish. What works in one season may be completely wrong in another. The big hook for big fish rule is a perfect example. It's a great general guideline for aggressive warm water fish. But for the slow, methodical, and highly suspicious world of winter pike fishing, it's a rule that's meant to be broken. Being willing to downsize, to prioritize stealth and natural action over brute force, is what separates the consistently successful winter angler from the one who just gets lucky once in a while. Ultimately, the message is simple. Don't let your gear spook the fish you're trying to catch. In the quiet, clear water of winter, every detail of your presentation is amplified. The pike has nothing to do but study your offering. A big, clunky hook is often the first and most obvious deal breaker. By switching to a smaller, sharper, high-quality hook, you are removing that red flag. You're presenting a meal that is more believable, more enticing, and far less threatening. This small adjustment can have a massive impact, turning lookers into biters and transforming a slow day into a memorable one with a true giant on the end of your line. It's time to think smaller to catch bigger. So, there you have it. The big takeaway is this. The cautious, energy-conserving nature of a winter pike means that stealth and natural presentation will always beat brute force. The most profound shift in my own winter fishing came when I stopped thinking about how to hold the fish and started thinking about how to trick it into biting in the first place. That aha moment was realizing my big, heavy hooks were making my bait look fake and were likely spooking the very fish I wanted to catch. It completely changes your approach from top to bottom. This isn't just a tip. It's a strategy that could redefine your entire winter season. Thank you so much for watching. If this video made you rethink your winter setup, do me a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos that challenge the old ways of fishing. Now, I have to ask you again. After hearing all this, what's the smallest hook you're now willing to try for a trophy pike? Let's get a discussion going in the comments below. I want to hear your stories and your plans.